Good morning, PT on Ice fam. Dr. April Dominic here, pelvic faculty for the ICE Physio Division. And I am here today to talk to you about cash pay marketing for the pelvic PT part 2. Dr. Rachel Moore did part 1, so be sure and go back and listen to that as she'll talk about different providers to market to. So, wanted to chat about our upcoming courses for the pelvic division, offerings for you to hang out with us. For our live courses, we've got a couple of options coming up. We've got April 22nd and 23rd in Oklahoma City with Christina and Jess. And then on May 6th, we'll be in Mobile, Alabama and Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, two chances there. The live course is going to give folks the opportunity to learn about the pregnant and postpartum athlete, figure out things for internal exam in terms of how to do it in supine, how to do it in standing. And then if we have a brand new option now, if you are not going to the course necessarily to learn or to be able to perform the internal exam, if the internal work is not for you, we have a great option for you to step out during that portion, learn about the internal exam, and then rejoin the crew. And then, of course, that'll help you be able to refer out to folks who do the internal exam if you're feeling like the person in front of you could really benefit from that. And then in day 2, we are in the gym working through modifications to help the pregnant or postpartum athlete maintain or return to the rig, to the barbell, and to any sort of impact or endurance work. And don't forget about our online option that happens. It's an 8-week online cohort, and that starts May 1st. So, if you missed part 1 to the marketing for the cash pay pelvic PT, Dr. Rachel Moore talked about identifying your client's avatar. She suggested pregnant and postpartum athlete for herself, as well as she talked about her favorite providers and places to market to. Go back and listen to that episode. She talks about lactation consultants, marketing to gyms, chiropractors, and midwives. For today, for part 2, we're going to round out the conversation by talking about one essential piece of marketing material to hand out. And I'll also discuss another set of providers and presentation topics that are relevant to the pelvic health space for marketing purposes that I have found very successful. So, for the marketing material alongside business cards, I like to hand out some sort of 4x6 card or pamphlet that has a few of the following sections included on it. So, I will often have direct questions for the consumer. So, something like, do you have issues with peeing, pooping, pelvic pain, or sex? Or I'll say, are you unsure about how to navigate the postpartum space, fitness, prolapse, labor and delivery, diastasis recti, something like that with those big hitter words that you know the person in front of you is likely reading about or maybe has been told that they have something of those diagnoses. And then, of course, you definitely want to have an about me section, making sure that you're sharing a little something about your credentials, maybe make it a little personal, some sort of fun personality or hobby that you like. And then, sometimes you can add a picture. I've always found that pictures are helpful, especially in the pelvic health space, knowing who it is that you're going to be working with. And then one of the best things that I've had a lot of success with is throwing a QR code on the card or pamphlet. People, we are all lazy. So the easier you can make it for the person in front of you to go ahead and schedule with you, or maybe the QR code goes directly to your website. Just make it easy for everyone, right? We'll pull out our phone, boom, that's where you can link up with me. Having a 15-minute free discovery call is also really great to capture the folks who may be on the line about whether they want to check this whole pelvic floor PT thing out. And once they get on the phone with you or see your face for a quick 10-15-minute video chat, and it's free, we love free things, then that often will get people right onto your schedule. Like, great, love chatting with you. I've got an opening next Wednesday. So and then making sure that you have a space on the pamphlet or card that allows them to connect with you, whether it is Instagram, email, phone, that kind of thing. I also include a little section with uh, what my services are. So I do dry needling, or if you do cupping, manual therapy, functional exercise, birth prep, etc. So just giving them as much information as possible, but only the essentials like those sections. All right, let's now talk about more providers and presentation topics that you can dive into to really market with your community members and to the folks who are likely seeing people who would be your client. So, I providers will talk about our other PTs, relevant physical medicine physicians, psychologists, and psychiatrists. And then this is just a freebie, like a community birth collective. So, really and truly, any other PT who is not familiar with the pelvic health space is someone great to market to. But today I'll talk about orthopedic physical therapists in particular. So, what I love about them is they are likely very familiar with the human in front of them because they get to spend, more than the 10-15 minutes that a physician is likely spending. And they've worked through a lot of the orthopedic conditions. So, the person has hip pain, low back pain that maybe not is not getting better as expected. So for that purpose, I often, when I go to talk to ortho PT clinics, I will actually bring a resource that I've created of a set of questions coupled with diagnoses that I think would be pertinent to ask. So we'll take the hip pain example. So if someone, you've seen someone for 8 weeks or so, 6 to 8 weeks, and they're just not improving. Have you talked to them about any sort of urinary issues? If they were someone that had a labral tear, we know that labral tear and pelvic floor dysfunction do have an association. So, have you asked them about their bladder, bowel, sexual function? Is this someone who, oh, they actually only have pain when they are having intercourse? So that would be a great person to refer to a pelvic PT. So just kind of connecting the dots for the ortho PT about like, hey, a lot of the folks in front of you may have some pelvic floor stuff going on, and hopefully we can work together to help get their outcomes to a better place. And then the other thing is, uh, if you are talking about the entire ecosystem and maybe the ortho PT has been asking about sleep and the person in front of them is not getting a lot of sleep because they're waking up every 2 to 3 hours at night because they have to go pee. So that's another conversation. It's like, maybe I should dig in deeper with that. So the ortho PTs tend to like that resource I created. Contact me if you'd like a copy or if you want help for figuring out what to put on your own. And when do I go see the ortho PTs? I typically go for some companies, they have like big quarterly meetings. So I'll ask about that, obviously, asking about if I can come during lunch for a lunch and learn. And then the other thing to keep in mind is make sure with any of these providers that you explain what a pelvic floor PT session looks like and how it may be, for the ortho PT example, how it may differ. So there's obviously going to be some sort of pelvic floor assessment, and that can be an external muscular assessment, or it could be intravaginal, intrarectal, whatever the person in front of them is most comfortable with. But I've always found that if the provider who is referring to you tells the person in front of them, hey, this this is what may be on deck, that helps quite a bit. All right. Next, we're going to talk about developing relationships with relevant physicians. So, urologist would be a great referral. We're thinking pre and post prostatectomy is a big hitter. And the I did a lot of work in when I worked in Texas with the prehab for a prostatectomy procedure, and the education with these humans of what to expect is incredible. Teaching them about the pelvic floor before they dive in to the surgery. I had, clinically speaking, I had incredible outcomes if I saw someone before they went and had their prostatectomy. And then, of course, treating them afterwards, because usually a lot of urinary dysfunction, leakage, and sexual dysfunction is on board. Urogynecologist is another great provider. So, for those humans, we're thinking prolapse, or maybe some bladder urgency or leakage. Our friends who are GI specialists, gastrointestinal specialists, we're thinking diagnoses that we may be able to help them with are folks with abdominal pain or any sort of bowel dysfunction. You can share with them how you talk about bowel defecation mechanics, and how you help basically improve the ability to have a bowel movement without straining, things like that. And then let's take a deeper dive into OBs and gynecologists. So for all of these providers, I recommend like how can we connect with them, right? For some people, they might not be willing and wanting to just pick up the phone, but you could certainly email them. The provider and say, hey, I just took this really cool pelvic floor dry needling course, and I'd love to share with you how I can help your patients. Or you can pull the old mutual patient card and say, hey, I've got this mutual patient, wanted to just discuss the plan of care, make sure we're both on the same page about their outcomes. And then finally, of course, lunch and learns or something like that is really great, a great way to connect with these people. So as far as the OB-GYN goes, in terms of presentation topics, I, of course, will always offer something like, what is pelvic floor PT, right? A lot of OBs still have no idea we exist. Or I'll talk about the role of pelvic PT during pregnancy and postpartum as a presentation topic, or different pelvic pain types like vaginismus, vulvodynia, dyspareunia, proctalgia fugax, which is the pain around the anus. And you want to be talking about what your treatment approaches are for each of these and what a session may look like. Another topic, birth prep. Review how you talk about pushing coordination, perineal massage, positioning with orthopedic considerations on board, because that is going to help their outcomes, right? If you're seeing someone during pregnancy and you've been treating them for hip or low back pain, you are probably in one of the best positions to really recommend, like, hey, we want to just be mindful of XYZ, because we know that you tend to have a little bit of pain in this position. And then I also will just do a little open forum with these providers, especially OB-GYNs, discussing what are some topics that I want to learn from them about what their procedures are for maybe something like positions during labor and delivery. Are they okay with the person switching all sorts of ways? Do they use estrogen cream early postpartum? What are their thoughts on healing times for abdominal surgeries or hysterectomies? So open forums are always a big hitter as well, because I end up learning a ton from them. And if they're people who I get a lot of referrals from, it's even better for me to know their methodologies, just like same for them. It's better for them to know, oh, April is really great at doing this treatment, so I'm excited for you to go see her. Another thing, make sure that you're bringing samples, right? I will shower the table with lube samples, or maybe I'll bring an SI belt, belly bands, vaginal deflators, Pelvi1, O-Nut, all kinds of tools. People love a tactile tools. And then I'll also bring like my cups or dry needles, just and tape, just to kind of show them, hey, these are some of the other ways that or some of my other interventions. So the final thing that I found the most helpful and most incredible is just simply asking, hey, would it be okay if I shadowed you, whether that's for rounds or for being in the OR? Uh, I have had some really incredible experiences watching providers do their thing and be in the OR with for a C-section or a vaginal delivery. So that those have been really helpful for my own practice. So, another group of humans that you can market to is psychologists and psychiatrists. So, we're wanting to think about, hey, what are some diagnoses that we may share with them? And for them, I'm thinking pelvic abdominal pain, maybe pain with intimacy. They may have clients who have eating disorders, and then you can help with exercise management for that, talking about red S, screening for that, any sort of postpartum depression, erectile dysfunction. Those are all topics that everyone can benefit from, right? I can benefit from, hey, I've got this really amazing mental health provider that I'd love for you to consider, and then they can talk you up as well. Uh, and then finally, look in your community to see, are there any birth collectives? So we have this really amazing family lounge community center coming up in Denver. And it's just going to be a place for parents and families to hang out. So look in your community, see if something like that exists, or maybe create your own birth collective so that you can really bring all these providers together if you're wanting to treat pregnancy and postpartum. And what can you do at those centers? You could do a talk about ergonomics with childcare or with lifting. You can do baby and me exercise. Or you can do any sort of like return to exercise or get specific, like return to boot camp, something like that. So remember, be sure and have a 4x6 card or pamphlet detailing your services, credentials, who your audience is, and know that that can be edited per provider. So the pamphlet for the psychologist or a psychiatrist may be looking a little different than the one for the ortho PT. Um, be sure to follow up with the folks that you email or that you call or do lunch and learns with so that line of communication is fresh and open. And also ask, hey, is there a future date that I can come back to talk about a different topic? So I hope you all enjoyed Rachel and I's two-part series on marketing for the cash pay pelvic PT. And I hope y'all have a marvelous Monday. See y'all next time.